Did sin start in heaven? In short, yes, it did. And here's why. Before the creation of our world, the universe was governed by a strong principle, love. Love is not just an emotion, it is the law upon which life, reality itself, is built. Everything God created operates on this principle of giving. The sun gives light, the plants give oxygen, the water gives life. Now, this cycle of life is based on the law of love, predicated on freedom and truth, and that all sustains life. Now, among all God's created beings, one such being called Lucifer, described in Ezekiel 28:12-15, as perfect in beauty and wisdom. But over time, with ingratitude and then turning into pride, he turned his focus inward towards self. He began to admire himself instead of the Creator. And when self replaced love, a new principle, selfishness, was born. Isaiah 14 tells us that Lucifer began saying in his heart, I will ascend, I will exalt my throne, I will be the Most High. You see, you can almost hear the shift from love and service to self-promotion and pride. And that's how sin began, not as a violation of a legal code, but as a violation of God's natural life-giving design itself, the protocol for life. Lucifer disconnected himself from this design, this law of life, the same way a branch dies when it's cut off from its tree. His rebellion was against the very operating system of the universe. Revelation 12:7 describes the result. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. But this wasn't a war of weapons. It was a war of ideas about God's character. Lucifer claimed that God's government was restrictive and unfair, and to prove God's trustworthiness, Jesus, known as Michael in his heavenly role, stood for truth and love. When Lucifer deceived a third of the angels and was cast out, he carried that rebellion to earth. So by the time Adam and Eve were created, the rebellion had already begun. The serpent in the garden was already the fallen being we now called Satan. And yet, here's the most astonishing truth. Revelation 13:8, I quote, "The Lamb slain before the foundation of the world," unquote. Now that means, my friends, God had foreseen or is foreseeing the infection of sin itself, already prepared a healing plan, a restoration plan before creation even started. It's not a legal payment plan, but a restorative plan to bring his creatures back into harmony with his design of love. So yes, the rebellion, the sin, if you like, began before creation. It began when one of God's own angels broke trust with the Creator and introduced fear and selfishness into the universe. And that same war still continues today, not up in heaven, but in human hearts. Each of us is faced with the same question that divided heaven. Will I live by God's life-giving design of love and trust, or by the enemy's design of fear and selfishness? When we choose to trust Jesus, that rebellion that began before creation finally ends here, right here, inside us. Amen to that.